Rabbitohs Radio Podcast, the number one source for everything South Sydney Rabbitohs.
Welcome to another edition of Rabbitohs Radio. My name is Grant Chappell. I'm joined by Big Les from the Big Les Rugby League podcast. What's doing, Les?
Nothing much, mate. Keen to talk some Origin. Obviously, a lot of talking points we've got here. Well, it's probably my favourite time of the year, so ready to get stuck right in.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Team list Tuesday. There's no first grade team this week, but there's plenty to talk about with only 24 hours to go before the boys run out down there in Melbourne. But first of all, we'll get to our pizza giveaway, the guest of competition, and this week it was Benji Marshall was the answer. Wasn't a straightforward one there, but looks like Buddha last. He picked it straight away, and he tagged a lot of friends, and obviously we've checked all that. He's follows Site Pizza, Maxwell, Little Bay, and Maroubra, and obviously follows Rabbitohs Radio. So well done to Buddha last year, $100 voucher down there at Site Pizza. Yeah, mate, there's some good food down. You were at the launch last night, mate?
Yeah, bloody good food. Got a great feed down there. Obviously, me and Brownie were down there scoffing at some pasta and pizza. It's a great atmosphere too. They've done it up really well. Got a little bar section next to the restaurant. It looks really, really clean.
Yeah, they had the band on down there. It was plenty of people. It was tough to get a park. I'd come a bit later than you guys. I could only pop in for Smoko, but yeah, Buddha's going to love that one. Plenty of pizza and pasta for the halfback for the Alexander Rovers at the moment in the A grade, and they're flying out on top. They haven't been beaten by anyone yet, so well done, Buddha. And he's also got his own podcast if you want to go and check it out, the Mob Podcast. Check out it on Facebook and Apple and Spotify, him and his old man, Lawrence. So well done to you, Buddha. Look, we might get into... Actually, I might get you guys to like and subscribe and share, please. Obviously, you're watching this right now. It's very important to share it. We're trying to grow our YouTube channel so we can go live. If we get 1,000 subscribers, we can have a partnership there with YouTube and go live and possibly do some games next year. We might get into the Origin game tomorrow night, mate. Obviously, a monster game. It's a must-win game for our mighty New South Wales Blues. You normally get your Blues 13-plus jersey on. He's going to save that for tomorrow night, I think. How do we see this one to start with, bud?
Yeah, look, I think that having the extra man on the field is going to make a huge difference, and I know that's probably the biggest dumbass thing to say, but it will. I think that having Latrell there at centre, we sort of spoke about it on my podcast the other day when we were doing the preview. Latrell Mitchell is great in attack. He's a great attacking player. We know the upside that he has, and he can break a game open by doing a number of things, but his defensive IQ is probably one of the best in the NRL. So, just having a guy like that in there, obviously we know that Lomax got found out a few times in defence. Obviously there was an extra man in the overlaps, but just getting his body in the wrong positions in a lot of those, attacking sets for Queensland. I think having Critter next to him as well, two really solid defensive centres for us. I think it's going to make all the difference on the edges. And you go back and look to how New South Wales started that game as well. They were on top. They were looking great. Obviously, we started with a lot of momentum through the middle, and obviously defensively we're very strong. So if we can start the game the same way we started in game one and then continue that momentum on, obviously a big thing that happened in game one was Suwali getting sent to the bin. So, without any of those sort of interruptions or big moments, if we can keep that momentum going for a long period, score a few tries off the back of it as well, I think that New South Wales are in a great position in the second game, which I think is a must-win to win it.
Yeah, well, like you said, the 13-on-13 is going to be not an advantage. It just gives us a chance. Whereas 7 minutes into that game, we weren't really a chance to win the game. It was just playing for pride, and we could have chucked it in many times, but we didn't. They did their job for the state and kept a bit of pride in the jersey. It blew out a little bit at the end of the score, but I think at times in that game we matched them in the forwards, and if not, we got over the top of them with some aggression. Guys like Liam Martin coming up with some big shots, Spencer Leniu with the off the back fence hit ups and stuff like that. The Queenslanders were worried there at some stages, but you had a guy like Latrell, and he's almost like that extra explosive forward, but he's going to be out wide. He can win the one-on-one matchups, and he can trample the guy in front of him. We'll look at the halfback matchups now. DCE, very rare halfback, very rare individual who has got better as he's got older, where a lot of people taper off into their 30s. They lose their speed. The kicking game's not as good. Their defence goes sort of a little bit south. But DCE is almost in career best form. Game management-wise, I don't think he's ever played better. The game has just slowed down to a speed where he can just dictate terms and stuff like that. So he's someone we're going to have to certainly keep an eye on. And Mitch Moses comes in a couple of games back from an injury and done the job before in the past. He's got a great long kicking game. He's got a great catch and pass under pressure. And he'll be chomping at the bit for the opportunity.
Well, I think the main thing that you brought up there was the kicking game. Moses coming into this side, obviously last tackle plays from Hines weren't the best, whether it go out in the full or whether it, go straight to the winger or the fullback. His last tackle plays, they just weren't the best, and it was putting New South Wales under pressure. Even after we'd acquired a bit of momentum in sets, it'd pretty much just take a lot of that momentum away from New South Wales. So having a guy like Moses who can make the right decision on last tackle as well, I think is going to be a massive plus. But even his short side raids, his running game too, when we get a bit of momentum, him in the second phase is probably one of the better halfbacks who can handle playing in second phase footy, I think, in the competition. Just as I said before, the short side raids, offloads, he can be a real threat. He always has a plan for nearly every single situation. And you go back and look at that game with the Roosters against the Roosters, he was unbelievable in some of those moments. Obviously, the support play off that Regan Campbell-Gillard break for that try. A few tries set up on the right-hand side, just some silky ball playing and drawing in defenders. He, even in a bad game for his football side, can really stand up and make some big plays. So looking for him to do that for New South Wales, to take control of the kicking game. And I think that the plan was to build the team around Hines, in game one. And obviously it didn't work out. He brought Tedesco in and all of a sudden there's too many individuals. They try to get their hands on the ball too much. Hines overcomplicated his role. I think that Moses is experienced enough in that 7 jersey to not overcomplicate his role. Just get to kicks, long kicking game. If you get into second phase, he knows how to handle it as well. And, Edwards there at fullback, who we'll talk about in a second, is just a guy that he's going to play off the back of what his halves do. And I think that in itself is going to be really advantageous for us going into this one. And it's actually just going to add a nice temperament, a bit of structure, which is what we lacked in game one.
Yeah, well, Edwards, this has been a long time coming. I mean, he should have been there in game one had he not succumbed to an injury leading into that first game. Obviously, he was replaced by Teddy, did a good job there. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the fullback matchup. Another one, Reece Walsh played, but he sort of didn't. He never played much of a part in the game, bar the 7-minute mark. So it's essentially these guys' first games of the series. But both guys, the form fullbacks of the competition the last 2 or 3 years, you'd say, Les, there's not too many blokes going better than these two. The way Walsh bends the corner and forces your defence to make a decision it doesn't want to make under pressure. He's been able to murder oppositions in the NRL for the last couple of years. He's got in all the way to a grand final. Dylan Edwards, well, man, he's played in the last 4 grand finals, won 3 on the trot. Like he's a very special footballer, this Dylan Edwards, and he's deserved his opportunity. And I guess his strength is just he's in the game the whole contest. He sometimes does 2 hit-ups in a set of 6. Generally does a hit-up on tackle 5 at midfield to try and get his team out of trouble. He's always going to always going to be there in run support and backup. He's a good defender. Look, there's not a struck match between them. Reece Walsh probably has the speed over a short distance, but look, Dylan Edwards, when it comes to effort, and Origin's all about effort, I give him the nod when it comes to effort. He's everywhere. How many times have you seen him make a cover tackle and then on the last tackle, and then 2 seconds later he's doing the first hit up at the set of 6? And that's just what Dylan Edwards is all about, man.
I've already talked about Edwards, but Reece Walsh, I think that his acceleration and just the speed that he can generate off a standing start as well. You don't see many players with the pace that he can generate off a standstill. Obviously, waiting to see what his attacking halves do, and then obviously literally off a standstill just generate so much speed, come up in support and make some great plays. His X factor, his footwork at the line, the way he contorts his body, as you were just talking about before. He's such a special player. And we were sort of talking about it again on my podcast as well. Like, obviously hasn't played any footy since game one. Is that a little bit of a concern for Queensland? I'm not too sure, but if he's fully fit and he's ready to go, he is going to have an impact on the game. The only thing that, for me, separates Edwards and Walsh. We talked about his effort areas, Edwards, but I also think the errors as well. Walsh is a guy that loves the ball in his hands in the big moments. I think if he keeps the error count down, we saw what Queensland could do at the back end of that game when they started to complete at a very high rate and obviously had fewer errors. They did very well going down the left-hand side on those raids. If Walsh can execute those plays, those big plays without as many errors, he's going to be very dangerous in this Origin arena. But that's the big thing for me. And Walsh and Valentine Holmes especially, over the past few games has come up with a ton of errors, and it's recently sort of started to creep into his game a bit. Valentine Holmes, just the drop balls and a few uncharacteristic errors from him. These guys need to keep the error count down. It's probably the only thing I'd hold against Reece Walsh going into this matchup. Otherwise, he's going to be an absolute nightmare for the Blues defence.
Yeah, you mentioned Holmes and Latrell. I mean, that's another matchup we'll talk about. It's been probably talked ad nauseum on the last couple of podcasts I've listened to, Bloke in the Bar and all those sort of guys. Look, on paper at the moment, you got to give Latrell the nod. Experience-wise, you probably give Latrell the nod, but you got to look back at Valentine Holmes won a grand final with the Sharks. He's been over in the US under the lights and had a crack at NFL. He's come back and played. I think he went straight back into the Cowboys on a big money deal. He's been able to deliver for them. He's played some really good football for them. He's played in a lot of Origins over the years. Look, he's the sort of guy that could be out of form, but when it comes to Origin, he could turn up and have a blinder. I mean, he might play all over Latrell. I can't see it myself personally, watching Latrell so closely as we have, Big Les, this season. I think Latrell is going to cause a lot of 2-on-1s. He's going to force his opposition winger to come in on him the way he uses his eyes, and I think he's going to set up the outside men there. Brian Toto, he could be in for a field day there. Latrell, every series he's played a part in, he's won that series. There's a reason Madge has got the SOS for him. Look, Latrell, like you said, very high football intelligence, so defensively it's not going to be a problem. Latrell's going to, the Queenslanders are probably going to try and get him to do effort-on-effort plays to take some energy out of him. That'll be part of the focus, getting the edge forwards and some of those outside backs to try and run at him to see if he wants to get off the deck and move for an entire 80 minutes. The plan will be set him up from the opening minute, try and get him in the last minute. But look, I think Latrell's up to it. I think his fitness looks really good.
Yeah.
My biggest problem, I'm hoping Valentine Holmes is sleeping because he knows he's up against the beast that is Latrell Mitchell. Is he going to have a good night's sleep tonight? It's going to be a telling factor.
Well, look, I'm going to throw my hat into the ring now and make a big call here. And look, it's not because I'm a Souths fan. It's just because I know what's going to happen. Latrell Mitchell's going to have a game plan. He's going to target Valentine Holmes. Valentine Holmes, we just spoke about with the errors. He's going to force a ton of errors out of Val Holmes. I think Holmes is in for a very rough night. I think Latrell Mitchell is going to be up in his face all game. Val Holmes won't be able to get many passes off to his outside man or won't be able to get involved much because Latrell is just going to be right in his face. He's going to force errors. And Latrell Mitchell is going to make big plays off the back of those errors as well. That's why Latrell's up against Val Holmes. That's what the plan is. Going up against Val Holmes, you want him to make errors. You want him to not have a say or an impact because you said it yourself. Val Holmes can come into Origin and have an absolute blinder, and we've seen it on a number of occasions. But of late, Val Holmes, the errors have crept into his game, and I know that Latrell would have identified that. I know Madge would have identified that, and that's why we've got this matchup here. And I think that Latrell, he is going to give Val Holmes, as I said, a very, very rough night. I think that Latrell is going to have a field day there at centre.
And the other side of the field, you got the Queensland strike centre, he's scored more tries than he's had games. The Hammer hat trick in the last game, big factor when he went to fullback. We spoke about Reece Walsh's speed, probably more over a short distance or middle distance. The Hammer can do it from a standing start. He can go 100 metres. You won't lay a finger on him. Once he puts that smile on the dial, it's generally put the glasses down. He's up against the best defensive centre in the comp, probably at the moment, most consistent player over the last couple of years, a real freak of a player. He's taken a lot of big intercepts in a lot of big games, including against South City in that GF a few years ago. Stephen Crichton, I think he's the man to maybe keep him a little bit quiet, the Hammer. That's going to be a matchup that's going to decide the contest as well.
Yeah, and I think that the thing with Critter as well, towards the back end of the game, we talked about how Queensland blew it out a bit. You know, swapping over from left to right centre, it is completely different. The defensive positions, where you hold your body, who you're next to as well, is a big part of defence, and obviously getting used to those defensive combinations. Obviously, and this is a pretty shit example because I haven't played a game of first grade, but even when I was playing for Wombats, moving from edge back row into the middle, defensively, I had to adjust to that, and because my tackle technique was suited to a particular edge, and then moving into the middle where you had to use both shoulders, you had to be aware of where the defender was, and just defending through the middle. It's completely different to defending on an edge. I wouldn't say it's similar, but defending on left and right edge, it is completely different. And I think that Critter, yes, he's been playing right centre for the past few weeks, but he hasn't been playing with Lomax, hasn't been playing with Liam Martin or whoever was at the right edge back row to end the game. I think that he's had 2 weeks now to get used to those defensive combinations, and I think that again, Hammer could have a pretty quiet night. I don't think he will because it's Hamaso Tabuai-Fidow. He's an absolute freak. His footwork and his speed and his acceleration off the mark, it is just probably one of the best in the NRL at the moment. But yeah, look, I think that Critter's had time to get used to those defensive combinations now, and he's going to have a much better night defensively. I think Hammer is going to be less involved. I'll say that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. How could he be any less involved than last game? He was everywhere, wasn't he? Look, he just how many times did you look up and he was in the clear and just either putting someone away or he was backing up in run support and scoring those tries. It was pretty one of the more memorable games for an individual in a long time. The Hammer's last game. Now another one, a bit of a talking point in this one is the fact that Queensland decided to not go with a specialist back on the bench like Cobbo in game one, but New South Wales have gone from the 4-bench forward to using Connor Watson on the bench. A bloke who can cover lock forward, cover hooker, he could cover 5'8", quite a versatile player. How do you see his impact on the game and where does he come on?
Yeah, well, look, Connor Watson, I think that the fact that we don't know for sure where Connor Watson's going to come into the game is a good thing because that's exactly what Queensland are going to be thinking as well. It's going to be very hard to prepare for a guy like Connor Watson because he can come in at hooker, he can come in at Rome at lock. I think he comes into lock. I think that you see Isaiah Yeo and Jake Trbojevic play a lot more front row style roles. And we sort of talked about it on Rabbitohs Radio the other day, the role of the middle forward and how it's changed. And, front rowers are becoming less and less common. We're just seeing middle forwards these days and, guys that play in the middle, ex-halves, ex-hookers coming in and doing jobs there. I think that Connor Watson's going to be playing that type of role, and so is Cam Murray. I think that you will see the genuine front rower role come in through Jake Trbojevic and through Isaiah Yeo. And, a big part of Jake Trbojevic's game is his ball playing. He's very good at it, but I think that you'll see a lot more of a settled performance. I think that Jake Trbojevic will be there for 50 minutes, and I think that he's going to have a very defensive minded outlook on this game. I don't think he's going to be the ball playing Jake Trbojevic that we know. He's going to be the battering ram Jake Trbojevic, that's more, focused on his defense. Connor Watson, Cam Murray, two of the best ball players, or at least Cam Murray is the best ball playing lock forward in the competition. You've got Connor Watson, who ex-half, been playing hooker for the past few weeks as well. He's got that ball-playing ability. He's got great footwork, and he's just passionate. He's so passionate for whoever he plays for. We saw that the other night for the Roosters against the Parramatta Reels. It was an outstanding, or not Parramatta, would have been the week before, but his ability and, just his passion for his jersey and just the ruck speed that he can generate too in that lock forward jersey. I'm looking forward to seeing where Connor Watson comes into the game. But I think it is very game dependent as well. How does this game go? Reece Robson, how's he feeling after 50 or so minutes? It will be very game dependent.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Reece Robson's going to go the full 80 this time. That's just the way I see it. And again, you speak about game dependent. If we're down 2 tries, Reece Robson's off the field at the 25-minute mark. If we're down 12-0, for example, you're going to get Watson on, more of an attacking player, more of a penetrating player. Reece Robson's just a real workhorse. He's almost like a bit like what Cam McInnes used to be like in the hooking role, just tackle all day and not the most creative player at a dummy half. So it all depends. If we're in the lead, maybe he does go play high 80 minutes. But I do see, I think Connor Watson gets in a dummy half at some stage and plays a couple of sets of 6 in there if, at the very least, If not, he might do 10 to 15 minutes. And then when Cam goes off, he jumps into lock forward and they play it out that way. And I think exactly right, mate. Isaiah Yeo played his best Origin game, I think, in Game 3 last year. And he played genuinely a front row role the whole game.
And you
Cam
spoke
played his first game at lock.
Yeah, and you spoke about Queensland as well with Kurt Capewell coming onto the bench there in jersey 17 and them not going for that Billy Slater mystical bush poet 17 jersey there. But look, I think that Kurt Capewell, the reason that he's come into this side is because he can cover at centre. I actually don't think that Kurt Capewell will play. I think that he'll be ruled out late. Just have a feeling that Billy Slater's playing mind games for the New South Wales Blues. I honestly have a feeling that we could see either Helam Lukey debut or we see Dane Gagai come in as that mystical number 17. A lot of, Madge, I guess a lot of the Blues people would be thinking, Kurt Capewell's in, Billy Slater's under the impression that if something similar happens with Reece Walsh, like we saw in Game 1, if someone gets ruled out due to foul play, the 18th man gets activated anyway. We see Dane Gagai come into the game. So why have that guy in jersey 17 where we can just have him in jersey 18 because he comes into the game regardless? That's probably the mindset of a lot of people going into this game and seeing this move with Kurt Capewell coming in. I personally think that there is a very real possibility that Helam Lukey or Dane Gagai come into the 17 because New South Wales will prepare for Kurt Capewell. Kurt Capewell hasn't been in the best form. He's come off the bench over the past few weeks for the Warriors, and he's been appalling. He's been really, really poor. Obviously, coming back from a neck injury as well, you wouldn't expect his form to be great, but he hasn't been an Origin player. And yes, he can go to another level in Origin, but I just feel like Billy's picking him. He's getting a lot of people asking questions, and then bam, we see Dane Gagai come in or Helam Lukey come in jersey 17, and it's something that New South Wales haven't prepared for. And it just throws them off the ball a bit, just trying to figure out where these guys come into the game. But I'm keen to hear your thoughts on what you think about that.
Yeah, Helam Lukey, very talented player, just hasn't been able to get on the park consistently enough. He seems to have that 5-6 week period where he's starting to build and then gets an injury or a suspension or whatever. Whereas Jeremiah Nano has probably outshined him a little bit up there at North Queensland, and he's had a little, obviously plateau there for a little bit, but he's a genuine try scorer, strike player that Jeremiah Nanai, but I think Helam Lukey is more of a power back rower. So whether or not they want to have Helam Lukey in there instead of Capewell, I don't know how he covers centre. I reckon more than likely, I think Dane Gagai is the one that comes in, to be honest. A guy who, how many times have people said, how come he doesn't play like that for the Rabbitohs as he does in the Origin jersey or for the Knights as he does in the Queensland jersey? He's just born to play for Queensland. He's one of the great Origin players. Not many blokes have ever won Player of the Series from the wing. This bloke's done it. He is. I reckon that could be the smoky, mate. I'm gonna go with that one for sure.
Yeah, look, I cannot see Kurt Capewell. And look, if he ends up playing in jersey 17 and he kills it, wouldn't shock me in the slightest because he is the guy to stand up in the Origin arena. But I feel like it's just Billy's mind games. He's getting everyone talking. He's getting everyone thinking. He's getting everyone expecting Kurt Capewell to come in, and everyone's talking. Where is he going to come in? What's his role? His form hasn't been great. And then he just goes bam. And literally just before kickoff, maybe 5 or 10 minutes before kickoff, we see Helam Lukey or we see Dane Gagai in jersey 17 in the team list, and everyone just goes, okay, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what to expect. In regards to Helam Lukey not being able to cover centre, again, we sort of talked about it with what we just said before. If something happens with Reece Walsh or one of the other guys with foul play again, the 18th man gets activated anyway, so Dane Gagai would come in anyway. And then obviously, if it isn't foul play, you've got guys like Nanai who can realistically go into centre and do a job. He's great in the air. He's got enough speed. Defensively on the edge, he's solid. I think Sewer would go okay at centre. Wouldn't be the best, but I think he could do a job there. So I don't think that would be too much of a concern for them. But look, to be honest, it's just my opinion. It's just my little smoky call here. But I honestly do think that one of these guys, or maybe even Trent Liero, is a real smoky. But one of these reserves, I reckon, will become the jersey 17, and they'll come into this side very late.
And what about Cobbo? What do you think's happened there, mate? Looks like he's gone back home. just taking a little break from the game. We were out, well, I was out there with Brownie the other week to watch the Broncos, and look, he had a big impact on the game meters wise, but geez, he had some errors, like just some real, just wasn't concentration errors, you might say, or something like that. Look, I really hope he goes back to home and has a little rest and resets himself and gets back into the game. But he was enormous coming in off the
So the,
bench
the
for
report
Queensland
was
in game one.
The report was that he'd ruled himself out. He'd called Billy and said, "Look, my body's not in the right place. I'm not ready to go out and play Origin again." And it sounds like he's been dealing with an injury over the past few weeks that he hasn't really, talked about with the Broncos staff or with obviously Billy Slater. But he has been dealing with a leg injury. He's going back to nurse that. He has been named in the side this week for the Broncos. I'm not sure as to if he'll play. They've got Karapani in jersey 16. I think that he'll be a late into the back line, and you might see Cobbo drop out by game day. But, yeah, look, I mean, wishing Cobbo all the best. Obviously, it's a very hard, tough call, especially when, making Origin is such an honour. And, not many people make State of Origin football. To rule yourself out, it is a massive call. So, wishing him all the best, and hopefully we do get to see him back in Game 3 because, as a New South Wales fan, look, happy that he's out, but as a fan of rugby league, you love seeing Selwyn Cobbo play, whether it be for Brisbane, whether it be for Queensland, wherever he's playing. Like, Selwyn Cobbo is just such a fun player to watch because his talent is it's just amazing. He's such a fantastic footballer.
Hypothetical, mate. Latrell gives Holmes a bath. Cobbo's back. Do we throw Cobbo right centre, which I haven't seen play right, so he's mainly playing left centre. But right centre, what about this matchup? Latrell v Cobbo in Origin 3. What a matchup. What a tasty matchup that is.
I said 2 weeks ago that I thought that Holmes was going to get dropped after his Game 1 performance. I thought that he was quite shocking. His error count was pretty high at about 3 or 4 handling errors. Over the past few weeks, his form has been very inconsistent. He has had a bunch of errors creep into his game, and there was just a part of me that thought that maybe there is a reality where we do see Holmes sit out and maybe sit in the reserves for Game 2. I honestly thought it was a very real possibility, especially after you go back and look at how Cobbo played in Game 1 and just his involvement in those left side spreads. He did play right wing when he was on the wing for the Broncos, so I'm sure that he'd handle the right side very well. Look, I'd love that matchup if we do get it in Game 3. It does depend on how Holmes plays, but yeah, if Holmes does have another poor night there and makes a few errors, defensively isn't the best, and as you said, Latrell Mitchell gives him a bath, I think that there is a very real possibility we could see Selwyn Cobbo come in for Holmes.
Well, there you go. We might get to predictions, but we'll start with an anytime try scorer, mate. What do you got for us?
Yeah, look, obviously there is star power all across the park. I think for try scorers, Reece Walsh coming back in this side, if he's fully fit, I think he scores. I'd also go ahead and pick Latrell Mitchell. I think that he is going to have a blinder. I think that he is going to make Holmes have a pretty rough night there, force a few errors, and then even if he doesn't and Holmes still plays all right, I think he is going to dominate that left-hand side himself and Toto, whether he sets a few tries up for Toto or scores a bunch himself off kicks. I think that he is going to be an absolute nightmare for the Maroons' defence, and I think that he does score maybe even 2. So Latrell 2 plus a bit of value there as well. So Latrell 2 plus into a Reece Walsh, I think, is a very attractive multi, and it's one that I'll be definitely putting on responsibly, of course, before game day.
Okay, there's your anytime and a bit of a same game. I'm going to go Brian Toto, anytime try scorer. I can see that certainly happening. Just playing outside Latrell, he's going to attract a lot of attention. He'll be trying to attract the attention of his opposition winger on that side, and that'll create the 2-on-1. Not many blokes can do the catch and pass 2-on-1 like Latrell, or he can play through the line and offload to him, and he's always in the game, that Brian Toto. My same game multi, Brian Toto to score a double, Latrell to score a try, Critter on the other side to score, and Reece Walsh with his first game of the series to score a try there. And the Blues to get away with that one, 13 plus.
Yeah, look, I think that it's a real possibility that the Blues could win 13 plus too. I'd probably lean towards more of a tight game there in Melbourne. I think that Queensland are going to be aware of the record we do have over them in Melbourne as well, and I think it really will be a tight contest. I cannot see this game going into a big lead again. Look, very possible it does, but I think it is just going to be that tight contest.
Well, I think it's a tight contest. I reckon Queensland win by a small margin. If it's a 1-6 result, if it starts to be a little bit more open, which if we can get over the top in the forwards, I think we don't just win by a little bit. We win by a couple of tries, so that we go on and win by 14 or 16 points down there in Melbourne. That's just the way I see that one playing out. Anything else on Origin before we have a look at some of the Cup, the Pathways teams?
No, mate, let's get into it.
Yeah, so Pathways brought to you by the Juniors, the Mighty South Juniors. Me and you are both South Juniors. We never went on and did anything with it. But, okay, the Cup, New South Wales Cup, 3 o'clock at Redfern on Sunday. Mate, look, he's made a raft of changes there. Looks like Jarrett Subler's out. But very interestingly, Liam LeBlanc, the debutant from the other day, only got the 15 minutes. He's going to come back and play in the front row. I think we both like what we saw there from Liam LeBlanc. Really good defender, the way he plants his feet. His first up contact is outstanding. And the other one is Peter Mamazoulis is going to captain. And I think that one, I probably looked into it a little bit too much when I first seen it, but I think that might be just a minutes thing. Like, he only got 3 minutes against the Bronx. We spoke about. I think he only got about 15 to 20 the other day. Maximum, wasn't any more than that. So it might be a case of let's get Pete some minutes under his belt, let him play the full game. They've rested the reserve hooker on the bench. They're not playing one at all, which was Aidan Doolan, the Pommy, out from Warrington. So by the looks of it, it's a minutes thing, that one there. We might toss up. What about when Latrell and Jai Gray are all fit in that next game when we play against the Eels? What do you do with Peter Mamazoulis and Jai Gray?
Yeah, look, it's a really tough one. Obviously, you can't have both Latrell and Jai Gray, in my opinion. I doubt that Latrell Mitchell is going to want to go back to centre, and I doubt that he's going to be put back there either. Ben Hornby's made it pretty clear that he's going to be the fullback for the rest of the year. So, yeah, look, if we're reading into this the right amount, we could very well see Latrell Mitchell, obviously keep that fullback spot and Jai Gray potentially get the 14. If not, and Peter Mamazoulis does get named next week, then I wouldn't be surprised either. I think that Jai Gray, is still young. There's still plenty of time to make him that guy. I got fed in the comments today when we were talking about Jamie Humphreys, because a lot of people were actually talking about Jai Gray slotting into the halves potentially as well. Going into the next few years. I said I probably have to see it first. I just feel like in first grade, just his size, I think he's better suited to fullback. I think he comes in there, especially, with how the two boys have been playing in Jack White and Cody Walker as well. So, yeah, look, I mean, there's definitely a big possibility of both. I think that if Peter Mamazoulis does play the full 80 in New South Wales Cup, we could very well see, our good friend Jai Gray get the spot there at 14 and come on in a bit of a roaming role. Does put a bit of pressure on Damien Cook. And then, the other thing to look at as well is if Peter Mamazoulis is going to be the guy going into next year, the number 9, wouldn't you want him playing as much first grade as possible? Wouldn't you want him being that 14? So, look, it's a pretty tough one. I don't have a surefire answer for you, but I could definitely see both things happening. What about yourself? What are you thinking?
It's been hard to leave Jai Gray out after, 198 metres, where he had 4 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, scored a try. Look, he's an easy choice to have in your side. He's just a footballer. But if you're looking at the future of Black Steinel 2027, Peter Mamazoulis, Damien Cook moving on, I think it's advantageous to have Peter Mamazoulis there, biting out 20 minutes, 30 minutes in the middle. You can put Cookie into the lock forward position for small minutes there. I think Jai Gray goes back to New South Wales Cup. You're talking about a bloke who's only played 4 games. He's really first year of first grade. He's an absolute talent. Don't get me wrong, but you can't carry Pete and Jai in the same team if they're not in the starting lineup. It just doesn't work like that. You'll end up making your bench too short. I'm not sure how that one's going to play out. It's going to be very interesting to see what they end up doing with that one. And if you're talking about Humphreys, look, I went back and just tried to follow his career right back to Jersey Flegg in 2023. He got Jersey Flegg Player of the Year in that Manly side. That was a side that had Gordon, Chan, Kum Tong. It also had KO Weeks in it. Had some pretty good footballers. Lehigh Hopewade played a few of those games late last year as well. He came up from SG Ball and graduated. He's had a meteoric rise from SG Ball last year to first grade this year. So, and he played the majority of that season at the hooker position. This year they've put him in the halves for whatever reason, and that was definitely a spiteful decision last week by Manly to not play him in the halves and put a winger in and centre in the halfback position. They should have played that Humphreys. He looks like he's earned his spot. He's playing really good in the 5'8" position. Standoff pivot, really running 5'8". I think South will probably concentrate on him as your backup in the halves, but I reckon he's more going to be that backup in the hooker position, because another guy that people seem to forget about is another Humphreys, Matthew Humphreys. He's got a big future ahead of him. You're not seeing his name at the moment because he's playing GPS rugby union in the high school system. He'll be coming in next year. He'll do an NRL preseason next year. Matthew Humphreys got a great kicking game, extremely competitive. One of the great attributes of this young man. You keep your eye out for him. He's going to be one of the backups in the halves over the coming years.
Yeah, look, obviously we talked about the potential signing of Jamie Humphreys. Looks like it's confirmed as far as we know. Him coming to South Sydney, and yeah, look, pretty spiteful to leave him out of that Manly side. And it hurt them, I guess, too, because they didn't score a point. They didn't have that backup half. Carl Lawton had to play half, was more so playing like a back rower. But yeah, look, I mean, it's great backup to have. Jamie Humphreys is a guy that can play multiple positions in the spine. I think a big reason as to why Manly was so spiteful is you look at Jamie Humphreys, you look at his, transition from half to hooker to half. He's probably realistically that option for if DCE does retire over the next 2 years, that he'd probably be in the halfback jersey. There's a big possibility that he would grab that jersey, or at least grab the 6, and Brooks would go into the 7 for a few years while they find another guy to take that role. But maybe that was the plan for Manly, and then they say that he signed with South, and they've been a bit hurt by that as well. And then you look at the junior grades for Manly, they've got Jacob Arthur. It's pretty much their only backup half. Brandon Wakeham's had some issues off field, and he's unfortunately hopped out of that squad. So they don't have a lot of backup halves, and then losing a guy like Humphreys, who is...
Tyler Bunting's one. I don't know if you watched him play. Tyler Bunting goes good, the 7. He's been playing 7 there in the Reggies this year. He played majority of the year in Flegg last year, and he came up from the SG Ball the year before. He's a crafty little player. He's sort of had a bit of a slow burn, a slow graduation, but I think he's someone they'll be looking to maybe lock up now that Humphreys is flown the coop, so to speak. South haven't announced it yet. This is not 100%, but it's looking for more reports that it's going to happen. So they won't be too happy to lose him, Manly. I mean, they've been losing good guys like that, the young Fainu brothers and stuff like that. Latu, who was a big, tightly touted guy, that he's walked out the door. I'm sure the Manly fans would be asking, huh?
Big Samuela as well.
Yeah. Well, he's going really well, isn't he?
Yeah.
Over there at the West Tigers, playing some good football. So, yeah, they're going to have to be having a good look in the mirror there, Manly. But mate, this is Rabbitohs Radio podcast here. We can't help everyone. Just going over a look at the Flegg side, mate. Obviously coming off a couple of losses on the trot. Tippy will be trying to get a response out of his boys. He's made a couple of changes there. Looks like bringing back the Queensland winger there, Hayden Malkentine. He's quite a talent, plenty of speed, good size, loves his yardage, carries. And in the halves, he's thrown Jack Field in there this week to give him an opportunity. Jordan Plath, one that he really likes. His brother's Max Plath up there at the Dolphins, who signed a long-term deal. He's just a guy that's just got a lot of energy. He comes on. He generally wins a penalty with his ruck speed, or he comes up with a big shot and has a turnover. So he's one to look out for. And Thomas Fletcher, he's going to get his second game back. He had 55 minutes last week in his comeback game. Thomas will be looking to play the 80 out this week to get some match fitness up in the coming weeks. And Aiden Doyle on the Pommy hooker from Warrington, he's dropped back into his normal grade there. So another one there against the Dragons. That's 1 p.m. Sunday at Redfern, 3 p.m. for the New South Wales Cup, mate.
What's the go with Ruggo's hand? Is he sweet? Has he been playing?
Yeah, he's been playing. Yeah, well, like you said, mate, he's pretty tough.
Wow.
I think he's going to wait till he breaks the other arm before he has surgery on both. Yeah.
That makes sense.
I don't know. Yeah, no, he's tough teeth. Ruggo, no worries about that, mate. Where are you going to watch the Origin?
Oh, I'm not sure. Probably be a nice, cozy home one. Not worrying about getting home late at night and being out there in the cold. Might rug up at home. Yourself?
Yeah, no, I don't like to be out and watch it because you don't get to hear it. And you miss a lot of stuff if you're at the pub. You go to the toilet or whatnot. No, I'll be watching that one at home too, mate. Just in the comfort of my own home, bud. Making sure the Blues square this series up, mate. That's what we need. A big win from the Blues, mate.
Yep,
Now
exactly.
that might be it for another edition of Rabbitohs Radio Podcast. Up the mighty Blues.
Up the Blues.